Welcome to another video from Gweilo 60. My last video was about what I thought of Trump in the United States and the tariffs and the immigration and everything. Boy, if you think the Wu Mao in China, the 50-cent army in China, is opinionated, start saying stuff about Americans, and I guarantee you're going to get some backlash. I didn't know that I was going to get. So, you know, and I suppose it doesn't matter which country you come from. Each country has their own, I guess, opinions about how the world treats them and whatever. So each to their own. You know, there was a lot of good comments. There was a lot of pissed off people comments, and you know, but they were all telling their side of the story or their point of view. So I left all the comments in, but that's not what this video is about. Well, sort of, in a weird way. I'm by a loud road here, so you're just gonna have to put up with the noise. I got a comment today on my channel, and a person asking, now that there's this tariff or trade war starting between China and the United States, is it safe for Americans to be living, working in China? Well, you know, that got me to thinking. I guess the short answer is yes and no. If you're worried about violence, being attacked in China because you're American, no, that's not going to happen. They're very strict on violent crime there, so you got to do something really bad to somebody over there before they'll retaliate or actually physically attack you or anybody else. Doesn't matter whether you're from the States or China or Timbuktu. Doesn't matter. They just don't do that. That said, China has a crowd mentality, and what I mean by that is that they have, they're proud of their country, and anybody that says anything bad or does anything bad to their country, they don't like that. For instance, South Korea, the United States put THAAD missiles in South Korea. And South Korea had a lot of tourism from China, like big bucks. As soon as they did that, they cut them off. Nobody wanted to go to South Korea on vacations anymore, and it cost the South Korean government like millions and millions of dollars, because the Chinese were the biggest tourist country to South Korea. So it sort of hurt them financially. So what you're going to see, and this is my opinion and my opinion only, what you're going to see if this trade war escalates to $450 billion worth of tariffs against China or Chinese goods going into the States, is if an American and a Canadian apply for a work permit, the Canadian will be dealt with first. The American, well, you know, they may misplace, they may just refuse it. If American companies try to do business in China, they'll make it more difficult for them. You know, they'll do it through, like any other government can make life miserable for you. The Chinese government and the way that they deal with paperwork is difficult to begin with, without somebody saying, well, I really don't want to do that. When you're on a visa or a resident permit in China, the immigration can show up at your door, like they did with us this last time. Wei Fong got a call from the police saying that they wanted to talk to her about where they live, where we live, you know, why we're there and stuff like that. She thought it was a scam, so she said, I'm not talking to you, I don't know who you are. So the police said, well, we'll be right over. 5 minutes later, yes, they were knocking at our door. So, you know, things like that. You know, being pulled over by the police if you're an American or Canadian, and that's where it gets sticky too, because now what we're dealing with is an American and a Canadian, a British guy and an Australian guy. We all basically look the same. So this is going to make it more difficult for everybody in China, because you'll be looked at as maybe the enemy, or maybe somebody that they used to like but they don't anymore, because you've attacked their company, you've attacked their country with tariffs, making their economy weaker. And to the Chinese, that's a big thing. So things like you know, going out to a restaurant, students going to school, American students going to school, will they be discriminated against because of something like this? To a certain extent, yes. You know, if it gets to the point where it did with the South Korea and the THAAD missiles, because, or the Japanese, or, you know, with disputes in the South China Sea, when they say, oh no, this is ours, and stuff. Well, and if you say no, it's not, or the one China policy, if you go against the Chinese government in any of these subjects that they know they're right, or they think they're right, or it affects the economy of the country, then you're going to get some discrimination against Americans. Definitely you are. How will that affect the people that are living there long term? Well, if they're known in their communities and stuff, not so much. Would I be afraid as a Canadian, looking like an American and talking like an American, to walk down the street in Nanning? No. Not at this point. Would I be afraid to go out for supper or out to a bar till 3 o'clock in the morning in Nanning? No, I don't think that there'd be a problem with that. Would somebody maybe refuse to serve me in a restaurant because I was American? Well, until I told them I was a Canadian, then life would be better for me, type thing. Things like that could happen, and in the future, they may just refuse visas to Americans. They may say, okay, well, our tourism, big tourism dollars, with all of the Chinese going to the United States and spending billions of dollars, as soon as the trade war hits, that's done. They won't do that anymore. They'll go to some other country, one that is I guess kinder to them, or doesn't put big tariffs against their goods. Yes, I know China puts tariffs against other people's goods. Canada does too. So does Australia and the United States and all of these other countries. But I guess once it's hit the mainstream media, it makes a big difference. So if you're an American living in China, going to work in China, are you safe at the moment? Yes, you are. Will it ever get to the point where you're not safe in China? That's possible, you know, because China is still China, and they think differently than Western people. So if the collective says Americans are bad and the government says we don't want these people in our country anymore, they won't be there. It's not like kicking Chinese out of the States or Canada. In China, they can just say, no more visas, no more work permits, no more American companies. Do you think, what would that do to Walmart? You know, or I think McDonald's, KFC, Pizza Hut, if they just said, well, no more American companies, and they could do that. That's one of the ways they could retaliate. So, and it would spill off into different countries like Canada and Australia and Britain and France and places like that too, because sometimes you can't distinguish from one country to the next because one white face looks just like the other white face, and in China that's what they see. And because America has such a big population, they do think everybody is from the States until you tell them differently. And so that's my opinion on, if you're an American in China, are you safe? I hope that answers some of the questions. And as always, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, push that share button. And even if you don't like my take on things sometimes, and think that I'm way out in left field and haven't done enough research and don't know what the hell I'm talking about, which happens sometimes, put it in the comment section. Tell me your thoughts, even if you disagree with me 150%. But as always too, if it's, you know, F this and F that, I'll just delete your ass from my channel, just like I did with a couple people yesterday, because there's constructive criticism and then there's just blatant bullshit type thing. And I'll put up with the first but not the second. Again, thanks for watching. Bye now.